The modern world treats education with unique seriousness. Never in the history of humanity have so many resources and so much thought been devoted to the development of the minds of the next generation. In all advanced nations, until a human is 21 or so, there is little else to do other than study. In sensible households, homework has a close to holy status. An army of teachers and educators, colleges, and pedagogical bureaucrats is set up to feed industrial quantities of the young through the school machine. Politicians on every side of the spectrum outstrip each other to prove their devotion to the educational cause. The big government-mandated examinations claim a power to determine the course of our whole lives. The dread they provoke can be felt in dawn terrors decades after the event. It may, in rare, tragic but telling instances, feel like there is simply nothing left to live for if the grades go wrong. And yet, despite all this, it is very rare to find a thoughtful adult who, by middle age or earlier, does not at certain moments of crisis look back in a somewhat puzzled way at their school years and wonder why, amidst all the study, the discipline, and the earnest commitment, so much managed to be passed over in silence. How, in all those hours sitting in classrooms, did certain fundamental concepts, ones that are so important to a halfway decent life, slip through the net? How come there was so much time for calculus, the erosion of the upper glacial layer, the politics of the Burgundian states of the 1400s, the poetry of Emily Dickinson and trigonometric equations, and yet so little time for a range of puzzles that render grown-up life so tricky? Why, in short, did no one ever tell us? 10 deep lessons from the book, What They Forgot to Teach You at School. Number 1. We could hardly expect it to do anything else, but one thing that school has an unparalleled genius for is subtly but powerfully enforcing the message of how important a role it should play in any well-lived life. In small ways and large, it teaches us that those who most faithfully follow its dictates will prosper, and correspondingly, that those who insist on doubting, rebelling, cursing, and defying it will founder. From a hugely impressionable age, we have it impressed on us that school is the ultimate arbiter of who will succeed and who must go astray. When worried parents try to tame their fears as to what will ultimately become of the precious and vulnerable little person they have succeeded in putting on the earth, performance at school is, understandably, clung to as the one reliable marker that things are going to be well. Number 2. When we first arrive on the earth, nothing is more alien to our minds than the idea of needing permission to do something. We simply attempt to do whatever we want immediately. When the carpet looks interesting, we give it a lick. When the cat annoys us, we yank its tail. When there's an intriguing plug socket, we push our fingers into it. When we wonder what something might sound like as it hits the floor, we give it a shove. We try to get everything right now or we scream. Soon enough, a lot of contrary messages come our way. Wanting to do something isn't enough. You must always ask, not just take. The thing you want is probably owned by someone else, and they have to give you their approval. A lot of what you crave may hurt others. You need to act a bit less and think a bit more. In fact, a great deal of what you want is just a terrible idea. The smile that comes back indulgently but firmly on 100,000 occasions says as much. No, that's someone else's. No, we don't do that sort of thing here. No, that would be unkind. Unfortunately, it seems as though the most exciting new ideas continuously defy the rules of existence. Apparently, you can't just strap a radio to the hamster. You can't eat only cake for lunch. You can't bury your brother in sand. You can't drill a hole in someone's head to hear their thoughts. We also learn a few sobering things about timing. It has to happen after homework. Next year, when you're an adult, there's seemingly no situation that doesn't require a waiting time infinitely longer than one would like. Number 3. We start our lives surrounded by people who know a great deal more than we ever could. To a 4-year-old, a very average adult is a miracle of supreme intelligence. They know how to drive a car, say hello in several different languages, pay for a meal with a credit card, and describe who Napoleon Bonaparte was. Incomprehensible mysteries when one has only spent a few summers on the planet. The whole of formal education feels like a process of catching up. We are required to take in information and techniques that our parents and teachers built up over decades. A central assumption embeds itself in our developing minds. We don't know, but they do. Number 4. There is perhaps no greater priority in childhood than to acquire an education. It's in the early years that we have to push ourselves with special vigor to learn the lessons and acquire the experience that will help us successfully maneuver around the pitfalls of adult life. By studying hard and intelligently, we'll have the best chance of avoiding a middle age of confusion and resignation, regret and sorrow. The clue to a successful adult life, we're repeatedly told, lies in childhood education. Number 5. We are, most of us, supremely gifted at the art of self-hatred. If we treated a stranger the way we tend to treat ourselves, we might be arrested for cruelty. In our low moments, we compare the way we are to the way we would ideally want to be, and cannot forgive ourselves for how far we have fallen from our own ideals. We scan our intimate histories, trace the many mistakes we've made, the people we've let down, and the embarrassing things we've said and done, and despair at our own existence. A little self-criticism may, on occasion, be a valuable tool. Our education system sensibly teaches us not to be too pleased with ourselves too quickly, and to take stock of our shortcomings. In the classroom, we learn to be open to feedback and to strive to improve on our mistakes. So good are we likely to have become at observing room for improvement that we open ourselves up to an opposite and yet more powerful danger. Fruitless and excessive varieties of self-criticism, forms of self-flagellation, which teach us nothing new, which undermine our mood around others, and inspire only doubt and underperformance. Number 6. In our early years, we are taught to imagine, often for the first time, that other people may not be like us at all. We may want to play a game, but perhaps they're quite tired and would love to go upstairs for a nap. We may think it fun to pick up their toys to try them out, but maybe they want to keep them private for a while. As we grow, our sensitivities are further developed around gender, class, and background. We learn that a person of another gender might not share any of our assumptions, and that being born into a given socioeconomic class can fundamentally impact on how one sees pretty much every aspect of the world. Because we are good students of the idea of difference, we may end up with a highly siloed and hesitant view of other humans. We latch onto details that feel far from our own experience to confirm a sense of difference we have been taught to expect. Number 7. When we are little, one of the first and most boring lessons we ever receive is in the primordial importance of being, as adults put it, kind. It's because of this peculiar imperative that our mother will remind us up to 10 times in a single week to send Granny a thank you letter for the horrible hat she knitted us. Or that we have to add a please every time we ask for almost anything, so much as a paper napkin from anyone. Or that we have to invite the weirdo in class to our birthday party and even give them their own balloon. We're left in little doubt. Kindness is at once very important and entirely stupid. As we grow up, we get better at the superficial mechanics of kindness, but not necessarily better at understanding why kindness should matter as it does. The subject remains under some of the cloud beneath which it was first introduced to us as small children. We merely succumb to its dictates more readily and are a little swifter with the cards. The true reason why kindness matters boils down to an idea that we may resist for a long time, because we are all alarmingly and almost limitlessly sensitive, by which is meant hugely unconvinced of our own value, of our right to exist, of our legitimacy, of our claims on love, of our decency, and of our capacity to interest anyone in our pains and in our ultimate fate. Number 8. The one great solace for a low mood is the right sort of company. People who know how to reassure us that we still belong, that sadness is to be expected, and that our errors never put us beyond compassion. These consoling souls will have suffered, they will have hated themselves, and they will have learned how to laugh at the absurdity of being human. Most importantly, when we show them our low mood, They will know how gracefully to take that most essential next step of friendship. Display one or two of their own. Number 9. One of the more puzzling aspects of the way we're built is that our emotional development does not necessarily or automatically keep pace with our physical growth. We can be 55 on the outside and 4.5 in terms of our impulses and habitual manner of communicating, just as we can be on the threshold of adulthood physically, while an emotional sage within. In order to assess our own and others' emotional development, we can make use of a single deceptively simple question that quickly gets to the core of our underlying emotional age. When someone on whom we depend emotionally lets us down, disappoints us, or leaves us hanging and uncertain, what is our characteristic way of responding? If you haven't subscribed to our channel, you probably will not see us again. If you have, congratulations, you are growing every day.